Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about cluster cards and how they help us with math. Most people can recognize the clusters from 1 to 5 because we use those when playing games with dice or cards. And when you look at the number 1, it is 1, 1. So if I took one little rod, it's the same as a 1 cluster card. And 2, if I were to put a 1 rod on the 2, there are 2 1s, or a 2 rod here in the number 2. The number 3, there are 2 different clusters that compose the number 3, and you may have seen both of those. When we get to the number 4 and the number 5, you may actually see combinations of other numbers you know that make those numbers. For example, you may see in the number 4 2 2s that make the number 4. A 2 here and a 2 here, or a 2 here and a 2 here. And over here on the cluster 5, you may see a cluster of 3 and a cluster of 2. Or you may see 2 2s, which you know is 4, and 1 more makes 5. But you can see how you don't need to take out a little 1 for each number in order to decompose and recompose these numbers. And when I'm talking about decomposing and recomposing, I'm talking about breaking them apart. That's the decomposing part. So if I see 3 here, I bring my 3 rod over. And if I see 2 here, I'll bring my 2 rod over. And then I realize by decomposing 3 plus 2, and then I recompose it, that number is 5. And this method can be very helpful when working with clusters that we don't already recognize. And I'd like to show you some of those next. Knowing the clusters 1 to 5 can help us very much with recognizing greater clusters. For example, with this cluster here, you may see the 3 cluster. So you might see 3 and 3 more. And when you put your 2 3s together, you'll begin to recognize that 3 plus 3 equals 6. You may also see a cluster of 4 and a cluster of 2. So you're decomposing the 6 into a 4 plus 2. When you recognize the 6 cluster, it might be quite helpful with the next cluster, the 7 cluster, because you may see the 2 3s here making the 6 and 1 more makes 7. Another thing you might see is 5 and 2 more. Whoops, excuse me, need a 6. Getting a little messy here. Again, knowing the clusters can help you to recognize even greater numbers. For example, here, when we move over here, you might see a 4 and another 4, and know that 4 plus 4 equals 8, helping us with this cluster, 4 plus 4 equals 9. We have another way that we might view 9 with this cluster. This 9 cluster is set up differently, as you can see. 1, 2, 3 groups of 3. So the children would decompose the 9 into 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 9. Finally, I'd like to show you 2 clusters for 10. With these 2 clusters of 10, the children may see them in many different ways. For example, they may notice that they know the 5 and recognize the 5, and there are 2 5s, 1 5, and another 5 that make 10. They may notice the groups of 4. 2 groups of 4, 8, and 2 more makes 10. And finally, we have the new cluster, which has 5 on one side and 5 on the other. These are a couple of ways that they might decompose the number 10 to recognize the cluster.